Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our episode number 4 of the Inner Circle. Good friend of mine here with me today, Scott Kidd. Man, take us away. Today's all about thinking bigger, and we're going to dive right in. But, man, introduce yourself, and let's get started.
Yeah, I'm Scott Kidd. First of all, thanks for being here. Love being here with you, Eddie. It's always great conversation, and it seems like sometimes we could talk forever. It's just a great feeling to be able to share and have a great conversation. But I'm Scott Kidd, host of the Yacht Captain Investor podcast, real estate investor, also host of the Yachty Real Estate Meetup in Florida. The real why I'm here today is because Eddie and I share a common interest, like what we talk about a lot is mindset and stuff like that. And today we're talking about thinking big and, how not to hold yourself back. I know there's a lot of times in my life where when I was a lot younger and I thought what I was thinking big ended up, when I look back on it now, it was big at the time, but when I finished it wasn't as big as I thought it was, because when you get to something, there's always a next thing, and there doesn't have to be a next thing. But
that's so true, man. So true. Eddie Austin BEX here. You can find me on all social media platforms, Eddie Austin BEX. Do a plethora of different things. Mostly, I'm a real estate developer, fund manager, and a mentor. I love mentoring other people, and that's really what the core is I have a YouTube channel called the Eddie Austin BEX channel, and really, it's all about helping other people. I love to believe that I am a philanthropist, meaning that I take my time and give back to other people. And, that didn't come easy. It really had to reshape my vision quite a few times. The thing I was blessed with from a very young age, though, is I always thought really, really, really big. And the times that I contracted was when I thought really, really, really small. And, I struggled because I was the only one that believed the dream because it was too small. People couldn't feel like they could adapt to it, go along for the ride. So I got a few bullet points, leaned out here, but today's episode number 4 here, all about thinking bigger. And guys, girls, anybody listening to this podcast, the thinking bigger was where the magic happened for me, because at that point, it was big enough that it worked along the side with my life vision. It also worked alongside other people to adapt to that. And when you say something big enough in the universe, I believe the universe rewards you as long as it's for good things. And I know with Scott here, just like this podcast, we thought many different iterations of this show. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to get this inner compass headed in the right direction and just share the stories. We've done podcasts together separately on his channel, my channel, and they were great conversations. And we just thought, man, how can we think bigger? How can we reach more people? How can we help more lives? And this is where we derived, was doing this. And we know that we can reach hundreds of thousands of people, and hopefully it resonates with you. So, Scott, I'm going to just go over some key themes here, and I think we'll just hit them one by one.
that'd be great.
So, number one, the danger of playing too small. What's the danger now?
The danger is, and I think I alluded to this at the end of episode 3, where I was saying, if I don't get to where I want, or I just don't do something, am I going to be able to live with that? And the answer is no. It's a resounding no. There was a point in my life when I was younger that there was a certain point where, okay, that was good enough. But now, as time grows shorter and I grow older, I want, first of all, it all starts, with that one thought. And thinking bigger, there's quite a bit that goes into it, but it's a pretty simple concept. I know that if I don't get to that thing, I know I'm going to do my level best to get all the way there. And if I do my best, I'm okay with that. But if I don't take that idea and run with it, I'm going to regret more at the end of my life that I didn't try or I didn't go after it, because that's something that people regret even more, is they regret the things they didn't do at the end of life rather than the things that they did do. And it resonates a lot with a question that has been asked over time and time again to a lot of people nearing the end of their term on Earth here. And that's one of the things is that they regret more of the things that they did. And they will say, if you ask most older generation, they will tell you, what advice would you give to a young person? They probably just tell you to go for it.
Yeah, Ed Milet, all that is it's so true, and it resonates with me as well. And Ed Milet has a good analogy of this, and it's like at the end of this race, at the end of this journey, we get to go to heaven and we get to meet the person we were supposed to be. And are you going to be able to recognize that person because you're
Mm-hmm.
so far off from the person you were supposed to be? Like that there was this plan laid out for you, and this person, maybe they're not wearing a suit. Maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
not what you're doing today. And they look totally different. And you can't
Mm-hmm.
even recognize them, but they're the you that you were
Mm-hmm.
truly meant to be. And maybe the thinking too small was the ultimate danger. At the end of the day, the biggest regret, I think, is the things that we didn't get to do when we do get to that deathbed moment. Is we're like, man, all those dreams were given to me and they were just too scary for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
just continued to think too small, and I just couldn't subject on any of those activities when they were only given to you. And I think that's troublesome. And I think it really comes down to the next bullet point is regret from not taking the shot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is just not taking that shot, because you will miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. I think Michael Jordan said it, Wayne Gretzky said it, all the greats in all the sports and all the other people that have achieved any kind of success. They'll say, well, what's the worst that can happen? And a lot of times our mind naturally goes to what's the worst that could happen, but why not switch it around and think, what's the best that could happen? Hey, maybe this works out, and that's just the beginning. And when you start to think like that, you think more, your brain kind of goes outward like that and starts to expand, rather than focusing on all those little things that could have gone bad. You start to think of, well, all the great things that could come from this one act. How many times in your life have you had something that happened for you, or you did something for somebody and they came back to you later and said, hey, you did that for me, and it made a huge difference for me. Or you made that one decision and that was all it took, was to step into that next person, that next thing, which, that's actually being that person
Yeah.
that does that big thing. And
Yeah.
it's just a big part of the whole process, that you have to first start by thinking that you can actually do that.
I know for me, man, it actually hit with the YouTube world, motivational speaking world. And, I had started my YouTube channel, and when my YouTube channel first started, I wanted to be the number one motivational speaker, and help all these people. And I was really, really bad at it. And I wasn't doing a good job. I was, driving down the road. Road noise is really, really bad. Recording it with my cell phone, but I stepped in the batter's box, man, and I did
Yeah,
it. And I got out of the dugout. I went on deck and I went to the batter box and I threw some pitches, and
yeah,
I didn't think I was hitting any of them, I guess.
yeah,
But later on, I had took a break from that, and I actually started sharing a ton of like the vehicles I was building, the daily stuff I was doing, and it kind of it was my life, a glimpse of the life, really, kind of
mm-hmm,
like a documentary of what I was doing, not by any means structured, just
mm-hmm,
doing videos here and there. And I bought a new truck, and a friend of mine that I worked with for many, many years, we were actually he had a garage and he tinted windows on the side. So I took it over to him and I said, hey, man, I want to get my windows tinted. And he goes, yeah, man, you come on over. And during the middle of tinting my windows, he'd shared a few things with me I didn't know was going on. And he was going through a pretty nasty breakup divorce.
wow,
And I didn't know that. And he said, Eddie, man, I don't know how to say this, but you don't know how much your YouTube channel helps me
wow,
with the daily things in life. And I'm going through a really tough season right now. And man, to be honest, I really wish you would record more.
Really?
because I use it, man. I do. I listen to it and it resonates with me. And it's pretty cool because you were also my boss at one time, and we worked together for many years even before you're my boss. And so I know who you are, like your origin story. I know. And
Hmm.
then also you doing this is super inspirational.
Nice.
And man, I could use that. So if you could find it in your heart to just record a video maybe once a month, dude, it would be amazing. And I had no idea.
Yeah.
And the regret that I felt from that, and it really paired with I was thinking too small. I was playing it safe. I was like, I really suck at this whole motivational speaking gig and all the road noise. And I wasn't getting a lot of likes, a lot of comments, a lot of views. But the one views that did, they mattered. Like they were
Yeah.
impactful to somebody. And that just from that point forward, I said, I'm never going to stop posting, whether
Yeah.
it's a short, whether it's a 10
Yeah.
minute video, a 30-minute video. Like I'm going to get up here and do this no matter how bad I think it sucks. Somebody else thinks it's amazing.
Yeah, I went through the same thing. I did that, and I'm laughing now because my wife and my kids they were they were looking at these videos because they were when I first started they were pretty awful, and they're still there because I leave it as a reminder because hey, maybe somebody else realizes that they can make awful videos and eventually
Yeah.
become mediocre
Yeah.
or the
That's the
best,
thing, man. I mean, like you don't jump in a batting cage and bat 1,000. Like,
No, and you don't hit that 100-mile-an-hour fastball right
no,
away. No
no. I
chance,
mean,
no
the first
chance.
thing is to get the courage to even step into that batting cage
Yeah,
with that what you might think is a dangerous pitching machine, and just let a few balls come flying past you once, and then stick your bat
yeah,
out and bunt one and figure out that didn't hurt that bad, and then take the swing, man. Just keep swinging at it. Just keep taking the shot.
yeah. And that a similar thing happened to me. I was my kids and certain friends or whatever were saying, yeah, this is pretty bad. Are you sure you should continue doing this? And I said, well, I'm going to continue doing it because you guys think it's awful. That one means I got to get better at this, and two, later on we're going to have something that we can laugh about that's pretty funny. And then later on, like a little bit later, I had people tell me, people that I really didn't know. They said, oh, you make those videos on YouTube. And I was just walking around the marina. I said, I guess you and that other person are probably one of the people that watching it.
You're the one like,
You're the one,
yeah,
the one person that watches it. She
yeah,
goes, no,
yeah,
I think it's courageous because I wouldn't do it. And I said, okay, well then I got to keep doing it. And somebody that knew me, I said, well, what do you think about it? And he said, well, it's who you are. You're not trying to be anybody else. I know you, and it's raw, but it's okay. It
yeah,
doesn't matter. And I was like, well, okay, so there's a couple of people that actually told me this that that it was good for them and they liked watching it. So I said, okay, I'll just keep doing it, and then as things progress, goes with what you're saying. Is I was probably thinking too small and overthinking the videos because that's what I found that the ones that are better are the ones where I just kind of let it go and just kind of start talking. And those are the things that I think people need to hear.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that when people feel like you're reading it off of a script, you're playing it out, that's
Yeah.
not near as genuine. And it's kind of driving
Yeah.
me crazy a little bit because some of the really, really, really big YouTube creators, they are viewed as reality TV.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, that is a highly planned,
Yeah.
executed plan to get the most views. And it's not
Yeah.
real, at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And maybe it is, but nothing against them guys. They do a great job. They capture a lot of audiences, way more subscribers than I got. So they know more about what they're doing. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, so the other bullet point I had down was thinking big as a service to others, allowing more people to ride the wave of the bigger vision.
Mm.
And I know for me, I got the opportunity to speak in Dallas, Texas here a while back, and I kind of got the microphone out in the crowd, and people were asking, what is your monthly number? What is that monthly number that you want to make? And I set up and said a very big, audacious number. even the guy that was hosting the conference told me to sit down because, it was a pretty big number. But at the same time, I had the direction of how to achieve this number, and I could speak it with conviction. So the number was achievable in my mind. And people walked up to me afterwards and they said, I would give anything to work with you at some capacity. I can see myself helping you get there. And I have a passion for exactly what you're trying to solve as well.
Nice.
So that's the thing. If I would have said that the 10,000 a month, the 20,000 a month, nobody would be able to attach to that. And not that I'm looking for people to ride my shirt tail, but at the same time, they seen ways with their skill set that complement what I was trying to do.
Yes. And they see, that by speaking it out loud, it attracted those people that saw, hey, he's doing it. So either I'm going to do it or I want to be a part of it. But had you not just put that out there, you wouldn't have had those people gravitate toward you. You wouldn't have attracted those people. But I think all of this starts, with that just gratitude, really, because the more you put out in the world, the more you give,
Yeah,
the more opportunities and everything will come. It just goes exponential, just with you giving and you speaking at that conference. You were giving it out there, and you were just showing an example of what can be done. You were giving of yourself to show that being an example of someone that can think that big and do that big. And a lot of times in my life, I didn't know, like when I first found out. I mean, I worked as a captain. The first person I worked for was a large developer. They're still a multi-billion-dollar developer and everything else, but I didn't know I could get into apartments and stuff. It wasn't until a friend said that they bought and sold on an apartment. I said, you could do that? He said, yeah, you can do it. I did it. Anybody can do it. And then that was kind of like, okay, well, he's getting jacked up on the beach here and he can do it. I can, okay, of course I can do it, and then, so it was, going back to that thinking too small, because I was thinking one house at a time. And, thinking back, would that have been enough? It probably would not have been.
For sure. Thinking about giving, I will take a funny story, little intermission here. So back to the washer fluid. So last week I said I needed to get washer fluid. Well, I still didn't go get any. And so I went in the gas station the other day and I bought the washer fluid. And the whole time I'm kind of giggling all the way out. I popped the hood and I'm pouring it and I'm already looking around for candidates.
Who's the guy?
And I ended up, I guess I waited long enough. There was about this much left in the bottle.
Yeah.
And I look around, I'm evaluating the people, and I'm like, it doesn't look like any of these people are going to appreciate a free quarter bottle of washer fluid. It's still too heavy to put in the trash bag, for the store attendant at the end of the night. I don't want to pour it on the ground. And I look down, and there was where you dip your little brush in thing to wash your windshield.
Oh, you dump it in there.
So I was like, I dumped it in there. Put the lid back on. I threw the empty bottle in the trash. I was like, yes,
win. Now
that's a win.
I didn't you instead of giving it to one, you gave it to many.
I gave it to many. Oh, so it worked out really good, because the other day, what made me think of this? The other day, I wanted to actually, use the brush and scrape off my windshield, and every single one. Of course, we're in a little bit of a heat wave right now. Every one of those tanks was empty.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, man. So I looked down there. I was like, I wonder if these are empty. I'll fill them up for them. And
nice.
Found one that was low, so I put it in there. And I'm sure everybody thought I was still crazy. But, hey, it worked.
Well, that's
the
great.
Other thing, how to stretch your mind set to remove the ceiling. I know for me, man, I had a ceiling over me at one point, and it was like $1,200. I thought that I needed to make $1,200 a month. That's what I needed to make.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, man, I could make way more than $1,200 a month, or $1,200 a week. But I had a glass ceiling. Like I really truly felt that there would be no way. And
Mm-hmm.
man, I can't tell you how much that really damaged my income
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't think it was possible. I really didn't think it was possible to make more than that. When I broke it, I realized the only thing that what kept me from doing it was me. I was the
Yes.
glass ceiling.
Yeah, most definitely. That's many times in my life where that goes back to that, thinking too small and putting that glass ceiling on it, because a lot of times we put a lot of things in front of us to say like, before I start this business, I got to get this truck. I got to get this truck first, and I got to get. You expend all this energy trying to get this truck, and then after you get the truck, you got to get the trailer. And then once you get the trailer, you got to get the box trailer, and everything else, and you get this and that. And instead of just starting and going and getting the clients and going and getting the revenue in first,
Yeah.
you put all these things in your way because in deep down you don't think you can do it,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to. And you're really self-sabotaging, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, all those things come into play, and instead of just taking a hard look at like, well, I can do that, it's $1,200, you break it down a week, that's in a work week, that's what, close, around 250, 200 bucks the 6 day work week, $200 a day, 5 day
Yeah.
work week, about 250 a
Yeah.
day. And then you break it down per hour, and then you go from there, $30 an hour. It's like, well, just rough numbers. My
Yeah.
math's
Yeah.
off a
Of
little
course.
bit, but you break it down like that, and you're like, well, it's not that. What can I do today to do that? I don't need the truck. I don't need that. Because we physically and mentally put those things in front of us as barriers to, so that we have an excuse or we have a retreat back to safety, like, well, I didn't have the truck, so I couldn't do it. Where it's like, I'm trying to do this, and I had a coach that said trying is the first step to failure. You're either
It
doing
is.
it or you're not.
Yeah.
You're not trying is like you're giving yourself an out.
Yeah. It's a difference. I'm going to try to get something done today. I'm going to get this done today.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
this is,
difference. And it's a mind shift.
yeah, it really is. I'm getting this done today, I'm doing this today, and you put that first. It's, goes back to that one thing. What's the one thing that's going to push you forward to starting that business or getting to that $1,200 a week? It's not going to be going after the truck, because the truck is over here.
Yeah.
You know.
And I would recommend doing the hard things first.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned was I decided during that season that I was going to take on the hardest job first, and I got it done in one day. And that job alone netted me like $1,300. I was like, I just made 1,300 one day because I chose to do the hard thing first. And man, the rest was easy. And I just
Yeah.
stacked up the wins overall after that. And it was like, that was the biggest difference for me, as the light bulb went out. I was like, wait, I can make more than $1,200 a week. I can
Yeah.
make $1,200 in one day. Then
Yeah.
what am I capable of the other 4 or 5 days?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great advice, for everybody. It's do the hard things first, because the easy things, you're going to expand the same amount of energy doing all these easy things, and the hard thing's still going to be there.
Yeah.
And the hard thing will probably get you further ahead, because you'll grow and you'll know, hey, I can do that. That's something I can do now. That's a part of my arsenal, part of my tool belt, part of my mindset that, yeah, I've done that. Because when you get done with that hard thing, you were saying, you're building up in your mind saying that it was a hard thing. And when you get done with it, when you look back, you go, well, it wasn't so bad.
Well, what I found, and that's so true, what I found was the longer I avoided that hard thing, the more that
Yeah.
hard thing has the ability to stop me from doing it, because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like
Yeah.
the elephant grows in the
Yeah.
room, and you're
Harder it
like,
gets.
man, that looks so daunting. I don't think I can take that on. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. Just if you
No.
tackled it first, you'd be on autopilot the rest of the week.
Yeah. You'd get it done, and then that would be, it would be all the easy things, or maybe it'd be a harder thing that would get you even further. Like, then maybe it'd open up into something that you never thought of. Because I know many times in my life, just even what I was talking about earlier about the friend with the apartment unit building and stuff, that opened up just me even thinking about it and knowing that somebody else did it, that I can do it. It opened up a world of all kinds of people that I never even thought I would meet. It led me to where, now we're doing a podcast about the inner compass, several years later, which is fantastic, which is going to bring, a lot of things to a lot more people. So you never know where you're going to go when you step into that hard thing.
That's so true, man. And the other thing here is some examples of a big vision that is leading with exponential outcomes, like 5 to 3 year goals, and hitting those. Now, this resonates me with apartment buildings and other real estate ventures. Is when you have a big enough vision that could lead to exponential outcomes, and I say exponential returns on our time, returns on our money, returns on everything, because we set these 3 to 5 year goals,
Mm-hmm.
and we break them down into tiny chunks, and we're able to execute on a business plan, for say. And I think that right there has really changed things for me, is understanding this might look like a great big overwhelming real estate project, but at the end of the day, if you break it down into chunks, like this is where we're going to be at this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, it really becomes pretty easy to understand everything. And so thinking bigger got you to say yes to doing the deal, and then breaking it down to those little small incremental steps that give you that 3 to 5 year goal.
Yeah, it really does. And, and we talked about this in one of the previous episodes, is you don't, work toward the goal, you work back from the goal.
Right.
Because once you do that, you can break it down. Like, say the 5-year goal is, having X amount of units. You break that down. Okay, that's how much every year. That's how much every quarter. Every 2 years, and then you go down month to month, and then you're like, well, okay, and we're gonna need to raise this amount of money for this amount, and it becomes to where you have an entire process where it's smaller chunks. Okay, I need to do this much today. I need to make X amount of phone calls. I need to reach out to this many people. I need to go to this many events to where I talk to enough people to where I can raise a certain amount of money. I need to call and find this many deals, on an average. And it becomes a lot easier to where you know what you have to do, and you just do it in chunks. And then you'll probably get there a lot faster than you might think if you just do the process.
That's really it, man. And at the end of the day, I think to finally, kind of tie round this episode out, is for me personally, the role of faith, the alignment, and that kind of bold declaration of everything that we do is really what sets the inner compass for me around this big vision, this thinking really big, but leaning back on the kind of the faith side of the business, and kind of having that kind of like that declaration page of everything of what this looks like, and then given kind of like the alignment of where I am. I think about my 3 core principles all the time. And these 3 core principles are really how I do my daily life. And I apply them to everything I do. When I think about meals, when I think about, everything I'm doing, even like right here, does it align with my 3 core pillars? And my 3 core pillars are, number one is I am present. I am, I got my phone turned off, I was
Mm-hmm.
completely silent. I've got everything, all the distractions, they're all cut off from me right now. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm present in this moment. It's just me and you here in this room, and we're just enjoying ourselves with what we're doing. And the other thing is I'm deliberate. Everything that I do, every word is thought out methodically. It's every action step is deliberate. And then the very last thing is I'm patient. So
Mm-hmm.
thinking back to that podcast where, or not podcast, but those motivational episodes, I got impatient about the analytics of that and the way things were, going. Maybe 2 people liked, or one person viewed it for 3 minutes, and it was a 30-minute episode. I got impatient, And if I would have just stayed patient with that, eventually I would have got the confirmation. I think that a lot of times we think really big, we start to get burnt out, and at that point we get impatient enough that we're like,
Hmm.
this isn't working, and we go a different direction.
Yeah, I would resonate with that because, that's happened a lot of times where I've just kind of gotten to a point where, well, this is not really working. And rather than just keep going and being patient, I pivot to something else, and all that work is kind of just wasted. So I built that partial bridge and then another partial bridge. And then you look back after a certain amount of time, you got all these unfinished bridges,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
unfinished projects,
yeah,
where if I had just built the one, it would have led to, you build the bridge to the island, there might be a whole another land out there, and something that I say a lot in a lot of my videos that I take very seriously, and it kind of goes a lot with you, a lot along with what you're saying is be clear, be grateful, and listen. It's because I heard somebody say this before, and I think it might have been a fund manager. He said, just be clear on your purpose. Goes along with being present and everything. Is everything, that you're doing, is this serving me? Is this serving others?
yeah, yeah,
Be grateful. Just be grateful that you have that opportunity. You have these people around you. You woke up today. Be grateful that you have this opportunity to live another day, to breathe, and to do things for other people. And listen. Just listen for the opportunity. Listen for somebody that might need help.
yeah. I wonder if that was John Pennington, because John Pennington also says, compared to what?
Yeah.
And, it's so true. Like,
Mm-hmm.
man, things aren't going very well. Things are just, you attach these different things, these markers that impatiently you think should be in a different place right now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, compared to what?
Yeah.
Compared to how it could be going, or compared
Yeah.
to the way it is right now.
That's there's that Theodore Roosevelt saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yep, I
Because
love that.
it when you start comparing yourself to other people, everyone's on a different path. Everyone's on a different thing, on a different purpose, a different place. You cannot really just compare yourself, because it will just beat you down. Because sure, somebody might be younger and have done what you've done sooner, but everyone in their own time and everybody on their own path. Sometimes you need to go through all those things to be where you are. I think about this a lot of times. Like when I first started on the boats, I flew to Fort Lauderdale. I didn't know anybody, and at that point, I'd lost business and things were not really that great. But had that not happened for me, I wouldn't have met my wife, wouldn't have a great family. I wouldn't be here today
Yeah,
speaking about all these great things and having all these opportunities in front of me. And that's just how it needs to happen.
yeah, yeah. I think maybe that's episode number 5. I know I got to listen to John Maxwell speak last weekend, and John C. Maxwell had an amazing terminology on this, an amazing thought process and it actually got me to stop doing. I was recording a series, the Reverse Engineer Blueprint, and I was basically
Okay.
going through like episodes like this from the start of when I can remember all the way through my journey and how I would have done it different.
Okay.
And at that very moment, I was like, maybe that's not exactly what I want to finish. And here's
Mm.
why: because at the end of the day, if I would have changed one or two things, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yeah.
maybe that's episode number 5 is, man, is maybe not being so hard on herself
Yeah.
for the things that went wrong in reverse
Yeah.
and how we're thankful for them today.
Yeah. And I think that'd be a great topic because, dealing with the what ifs, if you just keep thinking of all the what ifs, you might not get out of bed. I've been there. I've been there like, oh,
I have too.
God, what if this? What if that?
Yeah.
But well, then what would happen? What is going to happen if I don't get up? Well, what is going to happen if I go to work? Well, it'll probably get better.
Yeah.
Take the action.
Yep.
No, I like that.
So let's close it out by doing a little bit of a lightning round here.
Okay.
And we're going to do 3 questions just out of the blue. So,
Okay.
favorite quote?
Favorite quote. Um, Be the change you want in the world by Gandhi.
I love that. Favorite book?
Favorite book? So many. So many. The Go Giver. That's the first one that comes to my head.
Yep. Favorite author?
Favorite author. Right now it'd be Benjamin Hardy because I'm reading his
Yep.
Future
Yep.
Self book.
Well, fire 'em back at me, brother.
Okay, let's see. Favorite speaker.
Favorite speaker? I got to say Ed Milet.
Let's see, favorite quote. I'll go ahead and do that one because I'd like to hear what you got on
Yeah,
that one.
yeah. Anesthesia or Ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity by Rick Risby.
Okay, I've not heard that one. Favorite historical figure.
I'd have to say Napoleon Hill.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Also, favorite author.
Yeah,
That's my favorite author for sure.
I've reread his book several times, and pretty much all the stuff we talk about is a lot of it is based on
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
The guy, that guru, that's the guy that I sent you earlier. I listened to him a lot. All of that stuff is like ancient teachings and thoughts that are all tied together in there, and that's really nice, really
Yeah,
amazing.
man. So, Scott, where can people find you at?
You can find me at investwithscottkid.com. All my social media links are there. My podcast, the Yacht Captain Investor podcast, is right there. Look forward to hearing from you. Reach out if you guys need any help with anything.
That's right. So, EddieAustinBEX.com. Find me on that on any social media platform, or go straight to my website, which is EddieAustinBEX.com. See podcasts that I've been on. You can see all my social media links. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear some feedback. We'll be rolling out episode 5 pretty soon. And you will see when these things start launching, because we're going to chop all these videos up and we're going to be doing shorts nonstop and
Nonstop.
launching these episodes every single week. And we look forward to hearing your feedback because this has been tons of fun. We don't know how long these episodes are going to run. We don't know if we'll get the 25, maybe we get the 10. We don't know. But what we are knowing is we're having a good time doing this,
That's
and
right.
we can't wait to continue. So your feedback will definitely help us stay in the seat here. So we'll see you on the next one.